Hi, this is Christian from windsurfworld. Here we have the KT Drifter 4. It's a 56 liters. And here we have the previous model, the Ink Drifter 56 liters. That has been my go-to board for the last 2 years. And I have been a little bit curious, even a bit nervous about the new Drifter. Because is it better than the old one? I really liked the previous shape because it's just a little bit longer. It made such a big difference in starting a lower volume board. It's so much easier. So the new one is not a 5.4 but a 5.2. So it doesn't make a lot of difference. Well, let's have a full review about this board. I've been using it for about 6 weeks, so it's about time. The look, feel and weight of the Drifter 4 compared to the previous model. The previous model, the Wing Drifter, I really like the looks because it's carbon with a really thin layer of white paint over it. And when you have a little scratch or something in the paint, you don't really see it that much. Of course, after a while you lose some more paint, you see the layers below it, but still, this one I've been using for a year. It's been on the airplane a couple of times. It still looks really good. Also, the pads, they were really grippy, but it looks a bit less clean than the new model. So if you look at the new model, it still has some thin paint on top, but it is different, suggesting the top layer might not be carbon. If you look at the bottom, it's very bright yellow. It's actually, I found it nicer in real life than when I got the picture from KT to pre-order this board. So it looks really nice in real life. It's very bright, but it does suggest the bottom it's probably a carbon layer with a thin layer of paint on top of it. So if you look on the top side of the board, I'm not 100% sure this is actually carbon. On the website it mentions glass, so it might just be some sort of glass layer on top and then they put carbon on the bottom. So that changed. The pads changed a lot as well on the new model. It looks much cleaner. It's just one type of pad. If you look at the old board, there were 2 kinds of pads. The grip was amazing on the previous model, but still on the new model this grip works really well. Also, well, I've only used it with a wetsuit, and with a wetsuit the grip was excellent. What's really nice about the new model, it comes with a V-strap that's included with the board. So it comes with a V-strap and a single foot strap on the rear. I'm using a different strap right now, but they're normally all from MFC. So they have these black looks also on the rear. On the old model, it was a bit hard to find the right position on the board with foot straps. So I used a very much offset position. So the strap is like for my main foot, it's almost in the middle of the board. And if you look at the rear strap, it's also offset. You couldn't put the rear strap in the middle of the board, at least not on the smaller sizes. So it was offset, and it did work really well wave riding and jumping with this board with my preferred foot in front. So with the new board, all the plugs are in the middle for the rear strap, and then for the V-strap, of course, the plug is in the middle. There are no different other plugs. So V-strap is your best option on this one. I think that's good because if there are a lot of plugs in there, it just adds more weight. And I can already say on the water I didn't really feel that much of a difference. I would have expected more. So not standing offset, but a little bit more to the side of the board in the end. It worked well, so I'm happy with that. The weight of the board, for the 56 liters, it's almost the same. I did put it on a scale. This one was like 100 grams lighter or something. Always hard to compare. Sometimes the board is a little bit wet or not, or the scale doesn't function as well. But I think this one was slightly lighter. If you look on the specs of the KT website, they say the larger boards are more light than the old Wingsurfer. So the bigger the size, the more of a weight difference there is. That might have something to do with the tracks. The tracks are much longer on the new board. It's a good thing because I ran out of track space on the Wingsurfer. So with access foils, you can move your. Well, they came out with newer fuselages a while ago. They call it the Advanced Plus, and for that, your mast has to go 6 centimeters more to the front than with a normal fuselage, and I couldn't do that all the way. And I ran out of track space. And with the new model, I even have 5 centimeters of track space left when I use the Advanced Plus fuselage, and I can use the normal one as well. So this one is better for much more brands, and it's following the new trend of foils getting close, the front wing getting closer to the mast, so it needs to go more to the front. But the weight, because the tracks are longer, when I lift this one, you can feel there's more weight around the track section, and the nose of the board is lighter than with the older model. So it makes sense that if you have a larger board, the newer one becomes lighter, because if you have more board towards the front and they use a slightly lighter construction, it will be lighter because the track still weighs the same in any size. What else? Well, if you look at the bottom, the previous model had a lot of cutouts, and the new model doesn't. It's very straight. It's so straight that even when I attached the foil drive to this board, it worked well. So I attached the foil drive, and the foil drive was still, there was no gap in between the foil drive and the board. So that means this section is completely straight. If you look at the old board, when I attached the foil drive to this board, there was like quite a big gap between the foil drive and the board. So it's got much more rocker in this section already. And also this bevel in the rear, it's completely gone. So I did wonder, of course, would it have a lot of effect on the new board? And on the new board, I can already say it didn't have a lot of effect actually, except for because this area is much straighter. It's so much easier to get onto the foil with this board. It makes a huge difference. So actually the bevel is actually on the top side of the board. Even here, if you can see it. I don't know if you call it a bevel, but there's some sort of form making the tail section of the board a little bit longer, and it just makes it so much easier to make speed and get on to smaller foils this way, or on bigger foils, but it helps a lot with small foils. Overall, I just like the design of this board much more than the old one. The older one it's more straight, so it's got a straight line in the width of the board. Well, this one is a little bit more fishy, so it's a little bit narrower towards the tail, and the thickest part is around the straps, well, the front part of the straps. There is no bottom handle on the Drifter 4 56 liters. There wasn't one either on the previous model. They did put bottom handles in on the largest sizes, so 72 liters and up had a bottom handle, and that's good. Because when you're jumping a lot, it just adds another weak spot, and you only really jump with small boards. The big boards won't go high anyway because they're heavier and most people are less good in winging. Also, no bottom handle, it just reduces drag, and the smaller the board gets, you want less drag. Also, on the new board, the design, well, actually on the old shape, the Drifter the Wing Drifter, it was actually 3 shapes in one line. So all the boards up to 56 liters, they were actually a different shape than the boards up from 64 liters up to, I don't know, 90 or something, or 80. And then all the larger boards had a slightly different shape again. For example, the 56 liters was a 5-4 board in length. And then the 64 liters was a 410 in length. And that made a huge difference. So for me, I tried the 72 liters as well. It was easier to start with the 56 liters than with the 72 liters, just because the 56 liter was still shorter. With the new board, they changed that. So now the 5-4 56 liters has become a 5-2 56 liter. It's the same width, but the next step, 64 liters, it's a 5-4. And then the next step after that one is a 5-6. And the range is huge. There are like 17 sizes, ranging from 14 liter up to 170 liters. Total of 17 different sizes. And it's just a much more consistent line. I really like it. First time out on the new board, actually felt very familiar. I didn't notice huge difference compared to the old model. Well, actually a lot of things does have changed. So that's a positive thing, because I really enjoyed the old board, and that the new board feels about the same when in the air. I think it's very positive. Although it now has V-straps, I don't stand offset anymore. The board shape has changed and looks different. That the shape feels so much the same when one's up and flying. It's a very good thing. Earlier takeoff, but also needs a bit more balance. So if you break down the start of wing foiling down in 3 parts, you could say, firstly, you need to get onto the board and grab the wing towards you, find a stable position. Secondly, you hold the wing up, get wind in the wing, and then you can stand up. And thirdly, you're already standing up and you have wind in your wing, so you can make some speed. And then you can get on to the foil. So what I found with the new Drifter 4, the first part was the most challenging. It felt a little bit less stable than the previous model, and it probably has to do with the volume distribution. So before, the whole outline was sort of like the same width in the middle section, and now the width of the board is more towards the front and it's narrower on the bottom. And because of that, the balance point is more towards the front. It's a shorter area where you have to find your balance, and it's a little bit less easy than with the previous model. After 6 weeks, I managed much better now, but it is a little bit more difficult than with the older model. Maybe also because it's 2 inches shorter now, I don't know, but it is a little bit more difficult. But then, that's actually the only thing that's really more difficult. From there on, so you grab your wing, you hold it into the wind, the board starts making speed already. And because it's making speed, it's actually easier to get up and stand already. And then the third part, once you're standing and going with wind in the wing, this board gets up and going so much quicker than the previous model. It's just, it's a much better shape for that. As mentioned, I also use this board with the foil drive. It goes up onto the foil really quickly. Not as quick as with a dedicated foil drive board. I mean, this board is in width 22 inch. Dedicated boards are below 20 inch. And they have less rocker, so they get up onto the foil easier. But this board is easier when it's a bit more choppy. It just goes through the water a little bit easier. The nose doesn't dive as quick. So if you just want one board to wing and to use foil drive on it, KT works really well. Wave riding, jumping and touchdowns. With the foot straps not being offset on the new model, I thought it would have made a lot of difference on my wave riding. Very happy to say I didn't notice a lot of differences, actually none. So maybe I already adjusted to it, maybe I haven't had the right conditions, but so far I haven't noticed any differences. So that's a positive thing. And also, if you look at the old shape compared to the new one, the old one had shitloads of cutouts. In this section, on the tail section, they call it the bevel, I think. The new one, it doesn't have it. And did I notice any differences? Well, almost to none, I'd say. You only hit the water again when you're going like really slow. When you're on a wave and you're riding it and you're going a bit slow, the foil's a bit too small maybe, so you go down a bit. So you ride the wave along, you touch it a couple of times. It has happened with the new one as well. And I did feel a little bit of difference, but it didn't bother me. So it doesn't do that much, all these cutouts it seems. And also not having the cutouts, it improves getting onto the foil a lot. So it makes a lot more, the board just makes a lot more speed easily. So just leave the cutouts out. It works better. It works better in the end, it seems. Jumping this board, I really like that on the previous model, because when you jump and you hit the water, it just the touchdown is so easy, and the re-entry it's magical. But on the new shape, it's even better, and that's probably because the volume has moved a little bit more to the front, and when you jump and hit the water, it just bounces off even better. So what happens with really short boards is that, which don't have enough volume in the nose goes down under and you crash. With the longer boards, that doesn't happen as quick. And now with the volume more towards the front, it just bounces off even better. Also, if you look at the shape, it's a bit thicker in the middle. It's got a little V in there, I think. I don't know, it just feels better. And when jumping, it's just much easier. And also, with the weight of the board being more towards the rear, when jumping, the board does feel lighter in the air. So altogether, this board is a big improvement shape-wise compared to the other one. So the only thing I didn't really like was the tracks. The tracks, I like that they are longer. I like that I can move the foil more forward, still enough positions to go to the rear. However, you just want to get onto the water very quick. And with the new system, when you put the T-nut in, the T-nut can move up and down a lot. So when you're putting on the bolts, putting tension on them, and you want to do that quickly, you have to be very careful because it can move up and down in the track. When you're turning, it's possible that the T-nut already grabs on the sort of like the top side of the T-nut instead of in the part where it slides. So when you start tightening it at such a moment, you damage the tracks. Has happened to me already. So when you're putting the foil on, you have to be very careful when turning the bolts, when tightening the bolts. When you do that, everything goes well, but you do have to pay attention to that one. Conclusion. Well, they managed to make my favorite board better, and I'm very stoked about that. If 56 liters is a little bit too small for you, the 64, 72, 80 liters, now I think they are much more appealing to everyone. Also, what I really like about KT, they don't come out with a new model every year. Only when it's really needed, they will come out with a new shape. And I already told you, but this is my new favorite board for this season. and probably for next year as well, but we'll see about it. Thanks for watching, and hope you liked the review.